Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.
Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And today I got somebody that is good with the music, as they say, a person in the rhythm, in the spirit, but more so just definitely like one of the people that add flavor to almost everything he touches. Mr. Campbell.
I'm about to say we waiting for
is what
somebody else to
people
come.
would Mr. Campbell is what people would call him if he was actually one of his students.
Yeah.
But everybody know him as Red. Red, how you doing, my brother?
Incredible, man. Glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right, man. This is long overdue.
Yep.
And it's interesting how this connection is happening. We're talking about the musical One Sleepy Night Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
But before we even get into the whole musical and how you've composed all this music for it, how you've been rehearsing almost every day for this, taking away a lot of good Red time to be Red.
I know.
and still a Lions fan, surprisingly.
I am. I'm a football guy in general. So Michigan, Lions, I mean, that's the best football we got around here. So I'm just a football fan in general.
A Lions fan, surprisingly, like a lot of you right now.
I am.
But he was a Lions fan when it wasn't trendy.
Season ticket holder for the last 5 years, G.
I know he's gone through some very rough patches.
I have.
He's left in the third quarter a couple of times.
Actually, I stay to the end all the time.
All right, here we go.
I'm one of them
Here we
dudes.
go. Here we go. I want some Instagram video.
Be standing around. No more fans. Here I am. Hey, is that the end? Did he really make a 60-yard kick? Did we lose again?
Yes.
Yeah, man.
So let's get into this. Red, man.
Okay.
Your Detroit story. What connects you here? How many generations deep? When did your family and people get here? What puts you in the city of Detroit?
Okay, yep. So I am, third generation here now. My grandfather came
Three deep.
Yep, came from Georgia. Moved the whole family here. Of course, he did work in the factories. Of course, he did Kroger. And then, my grandmother, my dad's a musician. And so he plays around the city and stuff like that still. Still doing his thing. And I just kind of really warped into this naturally. Like, being with my dad all the time, I sat on the stairs one day and watched what he did. We had the old reel-to-reels, so I'm that old, where we were recording on tape. Watched him do some stuff one day and recorded over all his stuff at night.
Okay, now 1 second. All right, now that's back in the day. That's back in the day.
Yep.
Back in the day, you learning just from watching.
Literally.
So you're that talented to pick it up from seeing it, then touching it, probably making sure that a couple of keys don't end up so broken.
I'm saying, aren't we
You
all
did it.
though? We all absorb something, right? We figure out the language, we figure out culture, you figure out how to dress. Like, nobody tell you how to pull your pants up. Like, you just kind of figure it out, right? So that's the thing God has given me, man, is the music. I figured that out just literally by looking at it and absorbing a lot of knowledge from some real smart guys. I had Marcus Belgrave around. I had some real smart people around, and I just literally just kept absorbing information. That's what I do all the time.
All right, so as you all can see, Red's personality and me knowing Red for a while, because he was he was one of the cats, and cats is a colloquialism,
Yep.
as they'll say for people that play music. Because at one point in time, I would be on microphones and I would rhyme words together, and then people would be like, "Hey, we could probably get Red to join in with us and work on this." So it's like a collection of you guys, very talented musicians. I would think Marcus Elliott, Alex White.
I was just on the phone with him on the way here. That's wild. Yep, Alex, John Dixon, Nate Wynn, Chris Johnson. Man, those are my guys. My best friends.
Raphael.
Yep.
Sasha.
Absolutely.
Ben. It's a collection of, I would say, like a musician class of. It's hard to say, but let's put it like this: the guys that would close out Cliff Bales when they wouldn't let younger guys really on that stage.
Yeah.
Probably around, I'd say, like 2000
and 04, 03, 04, 05-ish.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those guys, you being part of it, and adding a flavor and an essence as we've seen the maturation of the arc of this collection.
I
And
appreciate
you're
that.
very key into that of, being one of the people adding to this sound of like a mix of understanding of hip hop,
Yeah, yeah, yep,
learning a lot through formal jazz,
yep,
definitely rooted with the gospel roots,
yep, yep.
but also willing to hop on stage and be like, what this hip hop gonna do? Hip hop guy gonna do?
You know,
Let's.
but you know what? That's just a part of the culture. Just growing up, like it's almost like what I feel like Detroit does is make this necessity for us to have to figure out a little bit of everything.
Mm.
It's not like New York or LA. It's like it's not like down south where they got the down south sound. Like you from Detroit, you got to know a little bit of everything. And so I did come up in church. I started going to church when I was middle schoolish.
What church?
Christian Union Church when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I started playing the piano there, but then I knew how to play the violin from my middle school, which was Bates Elementary Middle School. And when I got to high school, I just lied and told everybody I played bass because it wasn't cool. So I'm like, I wasn't taking this violin home. I was on the football team. I'm like,
Oh man,
I lied. I literally lied to say I play bass. That's what I'm here for. And I followed a guy around, Ibrahim, another super dope jazz
yeah,
cat.
definitely.
I followed him around. I did everything he did. And then I just started playing bass. And so with that though, I'm classically trained now. I'm deep in the Wu-Tang. Okay, that was Eshawn back in the day, E4. Like I was deep into all of that. So you just grow up listening to that stuff. The Rough Riders at the time, the Locks, DMX, Diddy, like all those super dope hip hop groups. Listen to all of that. Got classically trained. Marcus took me under his wing. Marcus Belgrave when we started doing jazz. And so all this stuff just melted together, and literally we just keep figuring stuff out. That's what the culture does, though. That's what Detroit does.
And the unique thing, as you talk about Marcus Belgrave, you have some jazz legends. Mr. Carter's taking a lot of young cats under the wing as well.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to see. Gayleen is always reaching out to like a little homie.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And keeping the tradition of music and learning what that is in a working act to the point where, whether it be something very formal, it's like, hey, you're going to need to get your tuxedo because we're going to actually be down at the...
100%. Like, Marcus was one of those guys. Ben Pruitt was another one back in the day. It's like, you better have a black suit, a blue suit, a gray suit. And my football coach, too, William Tandy, was one of those people, like, they were the people, and my dad, I can't leave my dad out, but like, you better have these. You have a court suit, you have a good looking suit too. Like, you better have your stuff and be ready. And I tell people all the time, that's what Detroit does. Detroit makes you ready for everything, anything. Our weather makes us ready for everything. Like, it's not hot all the time. It's not cold all the time. It ain't snowing. It's nothing all the time. So a musician from Detroit got to have a hard case, a soft case. You got to have a big coat. You got to have a little coat. You got to be ready for everything. That's something that other cultures ain't got to do.
All right, so now let's get a little bit into this arc. High school.
Okay.
Where did you go?
Cass Tech.
CT.
Yes, sir.
All right. So CT, what was your CT experience like?
Incredible. So incredible that I didn't go to college.
Hilarious.
Like high school was so much fun and so educational, so pivotal for me is where I learned, it's where I figured out the girls liked me. Like I figured out how to manage freedom. It was so much that I did at Cass that when it was time for college, I said, I'm going tour. I didn't need.
So just in learning the instruments and then being an athlete and player at the same time and just balancing those, as you say, the independence and the discipline of it.
Yeah.
When did you start learning that, like, okay, I'm good at this? Like, because it's different when you do something and you do it because it's kind of fun for yourself. But when do you recognize, like, okay, 1 second, I'm getting good at this?
Yeah, it was right in my senior year where, when I had to really make a decision. I'm 18 years old and like, if I'm not going to go to college, what am I going to do? And I started auditioning for stuff. Actually, was the last time I really auditioned for something was back in, I was 18 years old.
Wow.
But it was the Biv 10 Pee-wees. Remember them? Michael Bivins had the group.
Yeah.
Like, I auditioned for them. And when I was auditioning, I'm like, I could literally do this. Like, I'm all right at this. And I started touring right after I graduated. I did the Dramatics. Was my first tour. Dramatics and Temptations.
All right, so 1 second. All right. You were on tour with the Dramatics and Temptations.
I sure was.
So now that definitely puts you with another one of my OGs.
Okay.
In Butch.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's get a Butch story. Anytime I can get a Butch story, I'm always getting it. What was it like when you first met him? Very cool, Carl Smalls. If you don't know him, DJ Los Pops, but also one of my key OGs. We always talk about anytime we can talk about Butch.
You know,
what was it like when you met him? Because he's so cool. You know what I'm saying?
All of them were just so ready to drop knowledge at any time. Everything turned into a lesson or a story. It's, hey, young man, if you don't got this, then you have to do it. Everything turned to, hey, young man, hey, young blood, you need to literally everybody had a story and something. And I took all of that in, man.
Wow.
I'm 19 years old. And we doing a casino circuit. I'm not even supposed to be in there yet. You know, hey, young man, you do this and you save your money like this. And those kind of lessons, after 2 or 3 years, you start hearing the same stories. Like, oh, it's time for me to go. I
better take heed of that.
It's time for me to go. I take heed, learn that, and move on to the next thing.
So, and then with it, it's funny too, just knowing more of the Butch story. You know, fresh out of Cooley, he went on tour with Undisputed Truth.
Got it.
So very similar as, you know, that was more of a common story, like when we think about the 60s, well, the 60s, 70s, he's more the 70s, but the 60s, 70s, and then some of the early 80s, you know, it's been stories. I'm a Northwestern guy where it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what you call it? Man, I'm forgetting. This is gonna bother me. The dude that did the Ghostbusters song. It's like, hey, he going on tour. He taking people.
Ray Parker.
Yeah, Ray Parker Jr. Yes.
Ray
How did I
Jr.
forget that?
Yep.
But so things like that would happen. Being on tour at that age, where's your head at as far as like music now? Like, what are you thinking? Like, do I want to go back and do I want to create some? Like, do I want to? You know, like, what are you thinking musically at the time?
Okay, so at that time, everybody kept telling me I needed to find a sound. That was the thing. I was already producing. I started when I was 11, and I was, it's like, go find a sound. Figure out what you want to do. And I'm like, do I really want a sound? Like, I want to be able to do everything. And so at that time, I'm taking everybody's lessons and figuring out how am I going to do this for the rest of my life? It's like, I can't go get a job. Because that was the thing about touring. When I was fine on tour, I would get in trouble when I came back home. It's like, there wasn't a structure. So I had to figure out what was going to be my structure when I came home. I wasn't going to tour 365 days of the year, but when I was back home, what was I going to be doing to make steady income? And so I started taking those tour experiences and making friends on the road and making those relationships happen. And so my thing musically was, what am I going to do to make my legacy now? Who's going to tour with me in 10 more years?
That's deep. And with it, like, during this time, it's running concurrent of, like, you know, Hot Sauces is in the mix. 313 is, like, getting started.
Yep.
You
Sax
know.
and all the guys. And yep. So we also had a community of each other, too. We had each other. And we were like, Hot Sauce Crib. Remember, we all had a crib at one point. And we all living in the house together, and we growing up together. We didn't have real relationships yet. We wasn't married yet. So we all figuring out stuff at the same time together, and we all built that, again, another community, supporting each other. It was a dope time.
So when you talk about community, now I'm shifting to the musical.
Okay.
And getting into a project like this.
Okay.
Because you're like, I remember One Sleepy Night Detroit is a musical. It's a holiday musical about, really, I think the premise of the story is a grandfather that's kind of, I guess would say, like, kind of in a loss of, like, where life is going really right now. And sometimes people can be like that, like redefining what purpose can be.
Yep.
So through the journey of this magical telescope, he ends up discovering, through this musical comes to life, the story of Christ with his granddaughter.
Yep.
So this is like a interesting story that overplays with some great music. I mean, Kenny Watson singing here,
Kristen Delane and
Val Ward.
It's
some really good song. Like, projects like this, in that same spark of creativity, how are you drawn to things like this? Because it's not, you know, this is something different. It is.
Okay, so for me, this allows me to be all the things that I am. And so I'm always looking for opportunities to be like exactly what I am and not have to fit into anything. So when I was approached by Don, it was we need to make this a lot more Detroit, a lot more urban. I'm like, I'm that already. Like, okay, oh, we need to make the classical thing. I'm that already. And we tell the story of Christ. Oh, yeah, I'm that already. Like, and so it allows me to put things together that I already am. Tell the story that I already believe in. Do it in a way of the things. Every song, I don't know if I can say a lot of my songs, the inspiration was Spinners, and so that's the stuff that I grew up on. Well,
I like it.
And then the dramatics and like
I like it.
It's all full circle now. So I look for opportunities to be all the things that I already am.
And it's unique that you talk about that. Because, like, I remember Don Hart is one of the executive producers of this. And Don has been one of someone I'm close with as his son, Donnie Hart, has been one of my friends for a long time.
Okay.
So we've connected over the years. And I remember when he presented this to me, and I said, well, you're definitely going to need some gunners and where things go. And then he called me, you know, Don's a passionate dude. He's like, yeah, man, I met a guy. Young guy, Red. I was like, Red? I was like, oh, you in good hands, my friend.
I love that. Thanks,
You're
man.
in good hands. I'm like that guy, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's a musician. So I'm like, let him be an artist, but you're in good hands.
I appreciate that.
You know,
man.
And that was one of those things that I echo where it's like, okay, I'm very interested in this. And knowing Kenny's vocals already and Christian's vocals. And Christian, like for Christian to keep this pace, I'm like, wow. I mean, I always knew Christian was a great vocalist,
but now coming into her own as an actress now and like putting things together. And so now bringing John Sloan into it. So we were commissioned to do another work probably 7 or 8 years ago, which is kind of a similar thing, like, you know, take the play and make it more what it needs to be. And that project fell apart. And it's funny, I told John this story. I felt like John messed up that whole deal, and we were like, we all gonna eat off of this. And I'm like,
that's hilarious.
So I called John just to get his take on it. Like, what did you do? What did you say when we wasn't around to mess up this deal? And then I got closer with him. Was like, oh, you make a lot of sense. And we've been cool ever since.
Now John Sloan is the director of this, and John Sloan has Broadway experience and so many other things, and really a very, very like when I think of a production team to put something together creatively, like I knew all the parts that go into like plays and musicals, and it's so much more than the productions that I do. And I already think that some of the productions I do is like, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on. But like really making sure the casting is solid. Everyone is up on their lines, working it. Like his team is masterful as far as the time that's been put into creating this vision of the pacing. Like, you know, in performance, like in music, it's one of those things where a lot of, you know, I mean, I guess unless you're really one of those like pop acts where a lot of choreography goes, like I'm hip hop. And hence, hip hop and jazz kind of go hand in hand. Like we're improv and we're filling each other out. You know what I'm saying? If I drop in on Motor City Wine and Ian up there and Fink, I forgot to mention Fink. He dropping something soon. I need to go see what's up with Fink. But like, if I drop in on Motor City Wine and he walk up to me like, "Yeah, man, you gonna do something?"
You ready?
It's going to look like to the audience sometimes, if we're in that same vibe, it's gonna look like, man, they must do this all the time. But it's like, I don't know what I'm about to say. He don't know what he about to play, and we.
Well, the thing is, we do the front end work, and so we got to do the front end work to be able to have the skill to do that stuff and to hear and respond. Like I tell students now, like this is real time, rocket science. Like we got words, we got the right responses to stuff, and that's a learned behavior. And so we got that ready already. So when somebody asks us, again, it's the Detroit thing, man. Like New York's got its thing, LA's got a thing, but we're just ready. When we know something, we're ready.
And that's what's so unique about this, because in musicals, it's staging. I got to know where you're going to be at.
Yep.
and I need to know where you're going to be at, so the lighting person knows.
Yep.
So the person playing the music knows.
Yep.
So the other actors and actresses can like move and be correct in their staging and
All
the
the
pacing
cues
and the
and-
rhythm and
Yeah,
the cues and the person with the outfits and costumes and like it's a lot more that goes on. So like seeing this come together, I always knew more went into this.
But
And
seeing it now is like, for real. That's it. Okay.
So with it, as you say, and now I'm gonna be listening to the music as a whole lot. You know, we love Felipe over here,
Okay.
and we meaning Kari Frazier and Jan Frazier, my mom, rest in peace. We love the spinners out here.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you make like it's a lot of versions of "Don't Let the Green Grass Fool You,"
Okay.
but the spinners.
You own it. It's something about the spinners, man. Like I feel like their music wasn't if it wasn't made for anybody. It was just we gonna do what we want to do. There was a mainstream thing with the temps. There was a main thing with the contours, and like there was a thing, but like their changes, they just all over the place. It's like we shouldn't even work together, and it's like where did harpsichord come from? What we got a sitar in the middle? Like it. Yeah,
Oh man, I mean, Rubber Band Man.
Oh my God! Yeah. And that's a clap. It's not even the bass line yet. It's like
It's like you hear that and the rhythms and then even the vocal arrangements. Like it's like I always felt like the Spinners' music. It sings and it comes across like the story that I hear about the Spinners that they always say. It's like, well, they were like the backing band for the longest of time, and then they finally decided to release a song on them as their contract was up, and it was one of the biggest Motown hits ever. And I'll Be Around.
That's wild. And it makes sense though. Like when you hear a typical song like "Let's Go Rubber Band Man," just as that record, if it's bump bump bump, and the typical snare or the typical drum thing with bump 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 bump.
Yeah,
that one don't.
No.
Like why you even do that like that?
Yeah.
But it's fly. It's super sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then like other stuff like in the middle of the room, it's like, whoa, what are they doing here?
Yeah. I'm gonna be sampling a lot of these intros that because I'm just getting hip to their whole catalog. So I might put out a whole record of just remakes from Spinners records, man.
And then I just always love Felipe's voice. Even like to me, his voice in Another Butch Story.
Okay.
Like his voice in not just Knee Deep, because we always talk about like how often Detroit rappers have sampled that. You know what I'm saying? Like. And then it's just hands in my pants and I need to dance. And it's like it's like because it's not like falsetto. I don't know. It's just like
it's just a higher tenor. It's a first tenor kind of is not false, right? It's high. It's just like a high first tenor.
And it's very signature.
Absolutely.
And not to mention like his look, and it was like he just looked like
Class.
one of your uncles or your uncle friend that would come over and like play dominoes.
I can't remember which. It was a Detroit rapper that said, "I'm your favorite uncle's favorite rapper," and that's what he feel like. He's like,
yes.
He feel like your favorite uncle's friend. Like,
yes, he does seem like that.
Absolutely.
So in these arrangements and bringing this stuff to life, like you're adding as it's like, it should have that Detroit, it should have that soul, it should have that feel and that flavor, but also based in Christmas and holiday music. And this is the thing. It's like, different people feel different ways about Christmas music per se. But great Christmas music is long lasting. Like, I think the soundtrack to this, I don't know if y'all got a soundtrack for this, but it could.
I'm with you. I'm gonna wait till after the production, but we don't. Yeah, that's something that need to be talked about.
All right, so
it's a good record.
So yes, that's what I'm saying. Like the record itself has some substantive value.
I agree.
And in the songs like Magnificent Day, the other day at Noel night, as Christian is singing it, and I'm looking at the crowd, like kids just like, wow, this is like, wow, and then even the stories and the way that it's arranged, as I guess people would say, oh, that's of the world. But it welcomes in people that aren't necessarily following in the faith of Christianity, but still just connecting to the songs around family, around reconnecting, around community, around relationship.
And that's the whole point to me, is I say that the whole thing is really looped in and based in love, and I mean, I don't know nobody that ain't looking for love. We all looking for it in some kind of way. So it does. It all ties together, and I think that's the biggest takeaway from it all. Like, we want to bring people together. That's a thing that I love to do. Bringing people together is a thing.
So as we saying, we're talking One Sleepy Night Detroit, the musical. You can check this out. The musical at the Garden Theater. So December 6th, so Wednesday, December 6th, through Saturday, December 9th, at the Garden Theater, One Sleepy Night Detroit. And also at the Music Hall for a grand showing. It's already people in my neighborhood like calling me like, I'm coming. I'm like, I got you. So that'll be December 15th at the Music Hall. You can check this out. You can also go to onesleepynight.com, onesleepynight.com for tickets. And I'm going to put lower thirds and all that good stuff and check that out. But the music is this man. And speaking of other than this, musically, I can only imagine that this project has taken up a good amount of the time. But what else is going on? What are some ideas? What has this triggered creatively? What's happening with the song?
I'm gonna put this out because I said it at the end of last summer. I want to come up with another record by next summer. And I said I want to do Jazz Fest next year. And I'm like, I'm gonna need material, so I'm gonna come out with another record. So I'll put it out there now. I'm going to continue working on another record on my own.
Okay.
Just as Red Campbell, and it'll be a mixture of all the things that I am, and so that's where I'm gonna be at. December 16th.
I'm mad I missed Raphael's set.
Yeah.
This year.
Yeah. Incredible stuff. And even the resident, I can't even think of his name, the drummer, Kareem. Nice set too. Very representative of, Dilla's work and everything like that. It was dope.
And that's where, like, I was even talking about that. Like, it's so unique that I remember, here's another one. Rest in peace, too. And I'm sure you knew him, too. But Al McKenzie.
Yep.
So Al's son was one of my friends.
Okay.
So Al released the album back in with Penny. He released that back in maybe 2000.
Okay.
And we're at Jazz Fest. He's like, go down there, y'all can sell some CDs. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I mean, for real? Like, I mean, we just gonna get a boombox and we gonna sell. He's like, look, he showed us how to pitch and all of this. Like, this is like early on guerrilla marketing. He say, like, you a rapper. You say you want to sell some. And like I say, I love that. Al was like one of the most like approachable, but like direct. It's like, yeah, I guess that do make sense.
Yeah.
So we're walking up to people and we're talking this through, and almost like part of the sales pitch the whole time was like, it ain't none of that hip hop stuff. We sold so many albums being that. So to think that like 20 years later,
yes,
hip hop is being more embraced
main stage and
in the main stage of the Jazz Fest.
Yep.
As one of the things, because contemporary, like, it's going to be us at the Jazz Fest.
Yeah.
And in that graduation class that I'm talking about, it's like, it's a hell of a lineup of the people that I just threw out there. And I know I'm forgetting a lot of people, and it's no offense to any of you all.
Because there's so many. There's so many people. Yeah.
But
yeah, I think it's dope that the Jazz Fest is embracing that. And I feel like jazz is the contemporary music that keeps embodying like what's happening in the present. And so, like, whether it go all the way back to the Harlem Renaissance or whatever, back to when it was blues, like what we're feeling and what we're doing as people is the thing that keeps getting integrated into it. Jazz just never stands still. So it's like at one point it was bluesy, it was just guitars and upright bass, but like as we kept evolving as people, then jazz kept integrating that in. And so I'm so grateful that Detroit is embracing what we have and what we're doing into the Jazz Fest and what it is. Like, that's what Dilla did, and so you can't overlook that. Right?
And it's so deep also to like think about this relationship between, like I say, in that world of like what Ron and Marcus and you know what I mean? Like Marion has done, like given stage to like some younger homies to share in stage, like even in the arc, like I think down at D-Cypher, shout out Junie and all of them too, and Neek and Sophia, but Sophia E, being clear. So a young cat that had to be like no more than like 23. Like he was finishing the set. And he like, yeah, I'm gonna be on Jazz Fest and I'm gonna be sharing the stage with like one of the older homies. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is so unique that it still continues and carries on. Cause he was talking about Marcus Elliott.
Word.
And I'm like, one second, he's talking about Marcus Elliott like he an OG. You know what I'm saying? But he is an OG now.
At this point, I mean, and we keep giving back to the places that we gleaned from. It's crazy that I'm even the creative jazz director at Detroit Symphony, and that's what put me on. That Marcus put me on that.
Yeah.
And so that's where I learned how to play jazz, and now I'm the director of it. So it's like it just keep on full circle, and I can't wait to train the next guy. Like,
all right, so with that, as we get closer to a close of this interview, you said album next year.
Yeah.
All right, I'm actually in the mix of doing some new music.
Okay.
And tell Alex next time you call him. And I know I've said this for a while because people are like, we don't do nothing no more. I'm about to do something again.
And we said it out here. We both said it out here.
Yes, so that means that Red's going to be on something I'm doing. I'm going to be on something Red's doing.
Let's do it.
We bringing Alex White in the mix.
Let's go.
We bringing in the chaos of my man Raphael. And when I say chaos, Raphael is musically like to a level of like, when he played this stuff, he was like, yeah, man, I'm doing something with Jallo. And we love Jallo too. Another one of the OGs. I call him the funky drummer. And I was like, so what it is like more? He's like, man, you just got to hear it. Then I went to see Jallo. Jallo's like, yeah, man, I'm doing all this stuff with like computerized. And I'm like, what is y'all doing over here?
And then you hear it and you're like, oh.
This is different.
Fink too.
Fink
keeps staying ahead of the game too. It's like, you just keep doing what you're doing, dog. Keep making the opportunity to do what it is that all the things you are. So yeah.
So it'll be some music, and I'm gonna bring some of that flavor because I got a vision for it.
Okay.
But it'll be some of that flavor. So it's gonna be good to like we gonna talk again.
I would love it. I would love it.
Somebody that I did not mention in the midst of all of this. And it's definitely key when I think of this scene in music, in this connecting. And I want to say it's like a benefit toward them too. But like what Amp Fetler has done, and support what Amp's doing with the benefit coming up too. Yeah. But it seems as though the mixing, as you say, of the styles and being open to put more things into it. Yeah. Do you see your project being like, I know you said Jazz Fest, like what would you define it as? Do you already have like somewhat of a vision? Do you see some flavors? Like, what do you see?
I don't know, because each day, I don't know, I want to say something else. I just know that I want to say what I want to say, and hasn't been said yet. So there's not a particular genre. Yeah, it's a goal to do Jazz Fest, but I want it to be classical. I want it to be literally all the things that I am, man. So some 808s and some violins at the same time. Like, I don't know. A choir. I don't know. I want it to be all of it.
I want to get in one of those sessions just to listen.
I would love that.
And I would also, I think Deshaun should be at one of those sessions most definitely
another
too.
one, man. Another one. And you know what? I talked about the community too, man. Deshaun and Chris and John and Nate and all these. And there's some, I mean, again, people that I leave off sax, but we get together all the time. We have breakfast all the time. Like, we dudes at community, we support each other through everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's one of the things, again, that music does and bring us all together, man. Love those guys. So, yeah, I want it to be all of that. I want to be a representation of all of that.
And I don't know how much is, I know what he told me, because he's going to get on my project, definitely. He don't even know it, but he told me, he was like, yeah, man, I'm kind of going to be home for a while. But LG need to be on your project too.
LG is another one. Yeah, from 313 and up. Look, they about to do something at the church next week. Like,
okay,
you talking to all the people that I talk to all the time.
Hey, man.
Yeah,
I know, but just LG.
I'm on his record too.
Yeah,
I play bass on his singles.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Now I'm about to go back and I will be like, hey, LG, what you doing? Bring it up in there.
Yep. That's me on bass on there too, man.
All right, so if people want to get in contact with you, connect with the music, how do they do that?
I got my website, myriad.online.com. I need to keep that updated some more, but that's the easiest way to get in touch with me. It's got all my socials on it and everything like that. So myriadonline.com.
And if you want to see them, well, hear the music live.
Yeah, One Sleepy Night.
One Sleepy Night Detroit. Go to onesleepynight.com. Get some tickets. There it goes. Now the classic Detroit is different questions.
Yeah.
Very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
Uh, 87 Sable. What was that? Mercury Sable. 87. And my dad bought it for me, and it had a broken heater core when we bought it. And he was mad when it used to break down. Like, how you gonna buy me a car that's broke down and get mad at me when it stopped working? But that's what I had. 88 Sable.
That's that old school dad.
Yep. You bought me
that
a
old
bad
school
car
dad.
and then was mad at me when it broke down.
Yep, old school dad. Don't come to me with problems.
I said, dude,
Old school dad. Where's the first place you went when you got it?
probably just school.
Okay.
I was on some like we had to get the cash. That was it. I drove it to school. Stopped at Burger King on the way. That was it. I stopped at Burger King on the way to school.
Okay.
That was it. That was a freedom that I had at that point because I was driving myself.
Okay. Burger King breakfast.
With the croissant sandwich. And I used to get the extra French toast sticks. The boy on Gratiot. It's not even open no more, man.
All right. You're the DJ. Woodward and Jefferson. The fireworks just ended. You get to play 3 songs. What you play?
Ouch. The percolator is always in my brain. Okay. So as eclectic as I am, the percolator is one. It's gonna have to try to be something Stevie. Probably Overjoyed or something. I don't know. They don't even go together. They don't even go together, but it's my last record of the night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't know. That's the first 2 that came to my mind. That's the first 2. I mean, and now I got all these spinner songs in my brain right now.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I don't know. So it's gonna be the percolator, Stevie, and the spinners. That's right.
And the spinners. So I'm gonna take his spinners. I'm gonna take his spinners song right there.
Yeah.
And then we gonna say, let's see, what would I play? Probably gonna play Rubber Band Man. We gonna get them people dancing.
Yeah.
And them hopping.
That's a good record. That's
all right.
That's not bad. That's a good question.
All right. So, and then I forget that one song they did with Dionne Warwick was really cool too.
Where's
What was
the love? No, that's not.
that's,
That's not spinners. But I know what you're talking about.
man?
And it was somebody else when they did it on the live record too. I was like, I like their voice too. Man,
Good old spinners.
Yep.
All right. Last question. You could rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
I'm gonna have to go with Marcus. Even though he got a street named after him, man, but Marcus brought so many people together, different walks of life, man. He did the stuff down at Detroit Symphony. And it's crazy. Like the longer I live, the more you figure out that Marcus did.
Yeah.
And he felt like your Marcus, which is the wild thing. Like while he was all over the place, he was your Marcus.
Including all over the world.
Yeah. He was literally all over the world. Played on the Motown records. Had his own thing. Even me and his son Kassan, we play basketball every week. Like Marcus did so much all over the world, but he was still your Marcus, which is wild to me. So
that's deep.
Yeah.
I love it. Marcus Belgrave, one of the
pioneers.
Icon when it comes to music,
Mm-hmm.
world. I mean, historically in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but we were so blessed to have him
Absolutely.
in the D.
Absolutely. That's crazy. That's the first one to come to my mind.
There we go. All right.
Yeah.
Peace.
Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.